fans, and welcome to another episode of Screaming from the Bleachers. Obviously, as you can tell, we are not in the studio today. We're having some technical difficulties with the equipment, but I did not want to leave you guys without an NXT review from the episode from April 12th, 2017. We start the night off with a new opening from NXT. I believe Triple H called it NXT Rage. The new era of NXT, pretty good opening. I like always good to have something new every once in a while. The first match of the night is Aleister Black is debuting at Full Sail University, in which it is a squash match to promote him. Match does not last very long at all. He hits his famous Black Mass kick to get the victory, and it was a good way to promote Aleister Black. The next segment has an interview with new SmackDown Live superstar Ty Dillinger, saying he has some unfinished business in NXT, and then he announced that he has a match with Eric Young in a steel cage next week. The next match on the card for NXT is DIY taking on newcomers. I gotta make sure I get their names right. Dylan Miley and Michael Blaze, I believe was his name. You'll find out why I need to look, because they're total newcomers. Dylan Miley, by the way, is huge. I guess on the commentary, he's 6'3", 300 pounds. The guy is massive. And he does get his spots in. He does like a run-through thing as Ciampa tries to slap him, and he just runs through it and then bulldozes over him. And when Ciampa gets to the corner and gets Gargano into the match, Miley catches him, and then he puts him over his shoulder, or he puts him in like a suplex position for almost 20 seconds. So the big guy definitely getting his spots in. And for some reason, he tags in Blaze. He tags in his partner, who gets dominated for the rest of the match, and then gets the DIY's finisher, which I guess is called Meet in the Middle. I couldn't find what it's called. But the 1, 2, 3, Miley and Blaze are the losers. And after the match, Miley, not too happy about the fact that he just lost, takes it out on Blaze and absolutely destroys him. This big guy definitely has some future in NXT. We next go to a pre-recorded interview with Ember Moon, basically reacting to her loss to Asuka at NXT TakeOver Orlando, and assuring that she thought she was going to be the one. She thought she was going to be the one to knock off Asuka to win the Women's Championship of NXT, but obviously it was not to be. And although she does say at the end, "This is not over. This is only just beginning," and then she walks off camera. It's a pretty cool NXT TakeOver is being cleaned up out of the arena, and Ember Moon's just kind of walking. She almost somewhat does her entrance, not to like the full emotional effect, but she does like the rubbing of the ground when she gets down, looks around like she's looking around at all the fans, but there's no one there, and the arena's empty. So kind of gives an emotional attachment to Ember Moon and her loss and how much it really did affect her. The next match of the night pits Ruby Riott versus Kimberly Frankel. Match is going on just a little bit, and then you hear a little clanking noise off in the distance, and the camera pans over to see Nikki Cross, who a member of Sanity that Ruby Riott was facing at NXT TakeOver, and she kind of distracts Ruby Riott, who gets a chin buster. I don't know what to call it, but Frankel gets her down on the chin, and then a backbreaker for her troubles. Ruby gets back into it with a few slaps, and then ends up winning the match with a wind-up Pele kick. And then there's a stare down between Nikki Cross and Ruby Riott, which, again, this matchup seems made in heaven. Two girls who are just on the brink of losing their minds, if you want to say it nicely. Can't wait to see what these two do in the future. Pretty funny segment before the main event of the evening has Billie Kay and Peyton Royce walking around the WWE Performance Center. Basically, I think they're starting just to point out stuff, saying, "Oh, that needs to be changed, that needs to be changed." Then they look into a training room of sorts to find Liv Morgan and Aaliyah sitting and talking, and they go on insults, calling them losers and all this stuff. Basically, they're doing their shtick again, saying they're the best women in the division and everything like that. And then Billie Kay finds herself getting pushed into an ice bath, still while Peyton Royce is recording, to which when she gets out of the ice bath, she yells at Peyton Royce to shut off the camera. pretty funny segment in my book to just make me chuckle. The main event of the night pits Oney Lorcan versus NXT's newest signee, Drew McIntyre. Forgive me if I favor Drew McIntyre's spots in this match because he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. During the match, Oney Lorcan's up on the top rope, jumps to the outside, to which Drew McIntyre catches him and then slams him onto the apron. I thought that was a pretty impressive spot to catch a very heavy human being and then slam him onto the apron. I just want to get my notes over here. This funny point where Oney Lorcan is slapping the bejeebus out of Drew McIntyre, and he's slapping him, and then Drew McIntyre pushes him away, and then he comes up with the elbow on the head, and you can actually see Oney Lorcan gets a cut right here on the eye, and it's just gushing by the end of the match. A single leg drop kick from Drew McIntyre gets him the victory over Oney Lorcan, and by this point, when the match is over, you can see that almost all of Oney Lorcan's side of his face is covered in blood. So sharp elbows there from Drew McIntyre. Hopefully, he doesn't get punished for it. Drew McIntyre gets interviewed at the end of the match, asking, "Oh, why'd you choose NXT?" And he said, "Well, I could have gone anywhere, but I wanted to be right here in NXT." Shinsuke Nakamura making his final appearance at Full Sail University. Kind of a heartfelt moment for me, as I loved Shinsuke in NXT, but I am glad that he is on the main roster now, so I can watch him there. He gives an emotional speech where he says he calls the NXT fans crazy, which I think is great because they reacted positively, because I don't know how many people would say, "Oh, he called me crazy," and I'm so happy that happened. But yeah, the NXT fans, they are crazy. They come up with as he was saying, they were coming up with the chants, the singing, which then he instructs them all to hum his music, which is awesome. And then he does Triple H's NXT catchphrase saying, "This is NXT!" And he does the T like Triple H does, which I thought was pretty funny. The whole roster shows up, starts clapping for him, giving him his dues. Basically an awesome send-off for Shinsuke Nakamura. Cool moment at the end when Finn Balor sneaks his way through the crowd and gives Shinsuke a hug, and then fade to black. Time to give you my final thoughts on the episode of NXT from April 12th, 2017. Spoiler, I loved everything. I loved the squash match at the beginning of the show. I loved the Ember Moon vignette that was shown. I love the women's segment where Billie Kay gets pushed into an ice bath. The main event was absolutely awesome. Again, a little biased because Drew McIntyre is one of my favorite superstars ever. The send-off of Shinsuke Nakamura was very nice. All the superstars coming out on the stage, clapping him up, the fans going crazy, and of course Finn Balor at the end giving him a hug. So this episode of NXT gets an A+ in my book. Well, folks, that's the end of another episode of Screaming from the Bleachers. Hopefully next time you see me, I'll be back in the production room, and the camera will be fixed. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Pinterpe Productions to make sure you don't miss any more episodes of Screaming from the Bleachers. My name's Alec, and you have a good one.